The Great Galactic Hall was larger than most cities on Earth. Its ceiling was so high that it disappeared into a soft blue glow. Massive pillars of silver metal stood like silent giants, holding up the ancient structure. Strange alien symbols moved slowly across the walls, glowing with quiet power. Today, the hall was full. Rulers, generals, and ambassadors from dozens of alien empires had gathered here. Some were tall and thin with glowing eyes. Others were massive creatures with thick armor-like skin. Some floated in the air inside small gravity fields. They were all waiting for the same thing. A human. Humans were new to the galactic stage. Many alien races believed they were a young and foolish species. A race that fought too many wars and destroyed too much of its own world. To most of the galaxy, humans were nothing special. Just another small species from a distant blue planet. But today, one human had been invited to stand before the most powerful council in the galaxy. At the far end of the hall stood the royal throne. It was carved from a single piece of shining black crystal. Sitting on that throne was Queen Zira, ruler of the powerful Valtherian Empire. Her long silver robes flowed across the steps of the throne. A crown of sharp crystal points rested on her head. Her glowing violet eyes watched everything in the hall. Queen Zira was known across the galaxy for two things: her power and her pride. She believed the Valtherian Empire was the strongest civilization ever created. And today, she planned to prove that humans were nothing compared to her empire. Suddenly, the massive doors of the hall began to open. The sound echoed across the chamber. Every conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward the entrance. A single figure walked inside. The human. Commander Elias Ward. He did not wear shining armor like many of the alien warriors in the room. His armor was old and scratched. It carried the marks of many battles. Burn lines from plasma weapons, small dents from metal fragments, and faded symbols of Earth's defense forces. He walked slowly across the long silver floor of the hall, step by step. His boots echoed quietly. Some aliens whispered as he passed. Others laughed softly. Is this the famous human warrior? He looks ordinary, a single human against the Great Council. How amusing. But Commander Ward showed no reaction. His face remained calm. His eyes focused only on the throne ahead. Finally, he reached the center of the hall. He stopped and stood straight. High above him, Queen Zira leaned forward slightly. She studied him like a scientist studying a strange animal, so she said slowly. Her voice was smooth, but filled with clear arrogance. This is the warrior humanity has sent to represent them. A few alien leaders chuckled. One large reptilian general laughed loudly. Ward remained silent. The queen's lips curved into a small smile. She enjoyed this moment, enjoyed watching the small human standing alone before the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. She expected fear or nervousness, but the human showed neither. That made her curious. Queen Zira rested her chin lightly on her hand. Tell me, human, she said. Her voice echoed through the hall. How many wars have you fought? The question sounded simple, but everyone in the hall understood the insult behind it. To the ancient alien empires, humanity was still young, still inexperienced. The crowd waited for the human to struggle for an answer. Some expected him to say 2, maybe 3. A few aliens began whispering bets. But Commander Ward did not hesitate. He simply looked up at the queen. His voice was calm, quiet, 99. For a moment, no one moved. The laughter disappeared. The whispers stopped. Even the floating lights in the hall seemed still. 99 wars. The number hung in the air like a heavy stone. Queen Zira slowly straightened in her throne. Her violet eyes narrowed. She studied the human again. This time more carefully. 99? she repeated slowly. Some members of the council shifted in their seats. Others stared at the human with new interest. Because if the human was telling the truth, then the galaxy might have misunderstood something very important about Earth. And for the first time since the meeting began, the Great Galactic Hall was completely silent. The silence inside the Great Galactic Hall felt heavy. Hundreds of alien leaders were staring at the human standing alone in the center of the chamber. Only moments ago, many of them had been laughing. Now no one laughed. The number still echoed in their minds. 99. Wars. Queen Zira slowly leaned back in her crystal throne. Her violet eyes remained fixed on Commander Elias Ward. For the first time, she looked less amused and more curious. Around her, the members of the Galactic Council began whispering quietly. That must be a lie. No species could survive that many wars. Humans are known for exaggeration. A tall, insect-like ambassador clicked his sharp limbs together and said loudly, "Perhaps the human does not understand the meaning of war." Some of the aliens nodded in agreement. Queen Zira raised one elegant hand. The whispers stopped immediately. Her voice returned, calm and cold. 99 wars is a very large number, human. Commander Ward did not move. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said. The Queen tilted her head slightly. "You expect this council to believe that your small planet has fought 99 wars?" Ward answered in the same calm tone. "No, Your Majesty." The Queen's eyebrow lifted slightly. "I expect the council to listen." A few aliens shifted uncomfortably. The human was not afraid, not even a little. That alone was strange. Most species felt nervous standing in the presence of the Valkyrian Queen. Her empire controlled hundreds of star systems, but the human stood there like a mountain. Quiet. Unmoved. Queen Zira's curiosity grew stronger. She leaned forward again. "Very well, human," she said. "If your claim is true, then you will explain it." She gestured toward the massive hall around them. "Tell the council about these wars." A low murmur moved through the chamber. The alien leaders were suddenly interested. They expected the human to struggle to make mistakes to reveal his lie. Commander Ward remained silent for a moment. His eyes slowly moved across the chamber. He saw many strange faces watching him. Reptilian generals. Tall blue diplomats, floating creatures with glowing bodies, and many others. Every one of them believed humans were weak. He could see it in their eyes. Finally, he spoke. "Humans have been fighting wars for a very long time." The hall stayed quiet, long before we reached the stars. Some aliens frowned in confusion. Queen Zira folded her hands together. "Explain." Ward nodded slightly. "On Earth," he said, "war was part of our history from the beginning." The insect ambassador made a clicking sound. "That is not unusual. Many young species fight small wars." Ward shook his head slowly. "These were not small wars." A few council members leaned forward. Ward continued. "Human nations fought each other for land, for power, for resources, and sometimes for survival." He paused for a moment. "And sometimes," he added quietly, "for reasons we later realized were foolish." A few aliens exchanged surprised looks. Queen Zira spoke again. "How long has your species existed?" "Modern humans?" Ward answered. "About 200,000 years." The hall became restless again. "Impossible. That is primitive. They should not even be in space yet." Ward continued speaking before the whispers could grow louder. "In that time, humanity has fought many wars." He lifted his armored hand slightly. "Small wars, civil wars, world wars. Wars that changed our entire planet." Queen Zira narrowed her eyes again. "How many of these wars happened before you reached space?" Ward looked directly at her. "Almost all of them." A strange tension spread through the chamber, because most advanced species in the galaxy had reached space before they fought large, global wars. Humanity had done the opposite. They fought first, then they reached the stars. Queen Zyra slowly stood. From her throne, her long robes moved softly across the crystal floor. She walked down a few steps. Toward the human, 99 wars, she said again. Yes. And you personally fought in all of them? Ward shook his head. No, Your Majesty. A few council members sighed in relief. But then Ward continued, my people did. The hall became quiet again. The Queen stopped halfway down the steps. You mean humanity has fought 99 wars as a species? Ward gave a small nod, and survived everyone. This time, no one spoke. The idea was difficult to understand. A species that survived 99 wars should be either extremely powerful or extremely dangerous. Queen Zyra studied the human carefully again. She was no longer amused, and she was no longer completely certain of her earlier judgment. Then tell us something. Human, she said slowly, if your people have fought so many wars. Her eyes narrowed. How close have you come to destroying yourselves? Commander Ward's expression did not change, but his next answer made several alien leaders feel uneasy. Closer than you can imagine. And the great galactic hall remained silent after the human's last words. Closer than you can imagine. The sentence seemed to hang in the air like a shadow. Many alien leaders looked at each other with confusion. Some of them had never even experienced a single war in their entire civilization. Others had fought 1 or 2 conflicts long ago. But 99? That number still sounded impossible. Queen Zyra slowly walked down the final steps of her throne. Her silver robes moved quietly across the crystal floor as she stopped short. Distance from the human. Now the distance between them was small. For the first time, the Queen and the human stood almost face to face. She studied him carefully. Commander Elias Ward looked calm, almost relaxed. His old battle armor carried the marks of countless fights. Small burn lines crossed the metal plates. The shoulder guard was slightly cracked. Yet the human stood strong, like someone who had seen danger many times before. Queen Zyra spoke again. You claim your species has fought 99 wars. Yes, and you say you nearly destroyed yourselves. Ward nodded once. That is correct. The Queen crossed her arms slowly. Then explain something to me, human. Her violet eyes narrowed. If your species fought so many wars, how are you still alive? A quiet murmur spread across the council. Many aliens wanted to know the same thing. Commander Ward took a slow breath. Then he began to speak. Humans are complicated. A few aliens exchanged confused looks. Ward continued. We are capable of great kindness, but we are also capable of great destruction. The reptilian general who had laughed earlier leaned forward in his seat. That is true for many species. Ward shook his head. No, he said calmly, not like humans. The hall became quiet again. Ward lifted his eyes toward the massive ceiling of the chamber, as if remembering something far away. Our wars were not just battles between armies, he explained. They were struggles that changed our entire world. Queen Zyra listened carefully now. Ward continued. Thousands of years ago, humans fought with simple weapons, swords, arrows. The council listened with curiosity. But as our knowledge grew, Ward said, our weapons grew stronger and more dangerous. The floating ambassador from the Anduri species asked suddenly, how dangerous? Ward looked at him. Powerful enough to destroy cities. A few aliens nodded calmly. That was normal. But Ward continued, later. Powerful enough to destroy entire countries. The chamber grew quieter. Then he added the next sentence slowly. And eventually, powerful enough to destroy our entire planet. That statement caused a wave of whispers across the hall. Queen Zyra raised her hand, but even she looked surprised. You are saying humans created weapons that could destroy your own world? Yes, and you still use them? Ward paused once. The hall went completely silent again. The reptilian general leaned forward with interest. And what happened? Ward answered simply. Millions died. No one spoke. Even the aliens who had fought wars before felt uncomfortable, because no advanced civilization normally used weapons that could destroy their own planet, but humanity had. Queen Zira stared at the human carefully. You nearly destroyed yourselves, she said slowly. Yes, and yet you survived. Yes. How? Ward's answer was simple. We learned. That response confused several members of the council. The insect ambassador tilted his head. You learned? After destroying millions of your own people? Ward nodded. Humans learn slowly, he admitted, but when we finally understand something, we rarely forget it. The reptilian general let out a deep, rumbling laugh. So you destroy your own world first. Then you learn your lesson? Ward looked at him calmly. Yes. And that is why we survived. The general stopped laughing. Queen Zira slowly walked in a circle around the human, studying him from every angle. You are describing a very dangerous species. Ward did not argue. That is true. The queen stopped walking. But if humans are so dangerous, why should the galaxy trust you? Ward looked around the hall, at the many alien faces, watching him. Then he said something that made several council members uncomfortable. You shouldn't trust us. The chamber became silent again. Ward continued speaking. You should understand us. Queen Zira's eyes narrowed again. And what exactly should we understand, human? Ward answered quietly. That humans do not give up. He looked directly at the queen. No matter how many times we fall, no matter how many mistakes we make, we stand up again. The silence returned, because suddenly, the number 99 sounded less like a lie, and more like a warning. The great galactic hall had never felt so quiet. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their seats, staring at the human soldier standing alone in the center of the chamber. Only a short time ago, many of them believed humans were weak and inexperienced. Now they were no longer sure. Commander Ilias Ward stood calmly, his worn armor reflecting the soft lights of the hall. His face showed no pride and no fear. He spoke like someone who had already accepted the weight of his past. Queen Zira slowly returned to the steps of her throne, but she did not sit down this time. Instead, she stood halfway up the staircase, watching the human carefully. You said humans nearly destroyed their own world, she said slowly. Ward nodded once. Yes, Your Majesty. The queen folded her arms. Then tell the council about that war. The chamber became completely silent again. Many alien civilizations had experienced conflict, but almost none had ever come close to destroying their entire home planet. They were curious and slightly uneasy. Commander Ward took a slow breath before speaking again. It happened many centuries ago, he began. At that time, humanity was divided into many powerful nations. The reptilian general raised one heavy eyebrow. You were not united? Ward shook his head. Not even close. A few aliens exchanged surprised looks. Most advanced species united long before they reached space, but humans had clearly followed a different path. Ward continued. These nations competed for power, resources, and influence. Tensions slowly grew between them. Queen Zira listened carefully, and eventually those tensions exploded. She said, Yes. Ward's voice remained calm. It became the largest war humanity had ever seen. The floating Andari ambassador leaned forward. How large? Ward answered quietly. The entire planet was involved. Several council members shifted in their seats. That was rare. Very rare. Ward continued. New weapons were created faster than anyone could control. Machines of destruction. Weapons that could burn cities in seconds. The reptilian general crossed his arms. That still sounds like a normal war. Ward looked at him. Then came the weapons that changed everything. The hall grew. Even quieter, humans discovered how to split the smallest parts of matter. The insect ambassador clicked his limbs. Atomic power. Ward nodded. Double quotes yes. A few of the more advanced alien races understood immediately. Queen Zira's expression became serious. And you turned this discovery into a weapon? Ward answered simply. Yes. The hall remained silent. 2 cities were destroyed in moments, Ward continued. Blinding light filled the sky. Entire populations disappeared in seconds. Some aliens looked disturbed. Others stared with cold fascination. Ward kept speaking. After that, the fear began. What fear? Asked the Andari ambassador. Ward looked at him. The fear that humans had created something that could destroy the entire planet. Queen Zira slowly stepped down another stair. And did you stop? Ward paused. For a while. The queen narrowed her eyes. For a while? Yes. The reptilian general leaned forward again. You mean humans continued building these weapons? Ward nodded. Many nations built them, each one afraid that another nation would attack first. A low wave of whispers moved across the council. Queen Zira spoke slowly. So your species created weapons capable of destroying your world, and then multiplied them? Yes. The queen looked genuinely shocked for the first time. That is madness. Ward did not argue. Yes, he said, for many years, it was. The hall remained silent. Ward continued speaking. For decades, humanity lived with the constant fear that one mistake could end everything. Entire cities built shelters underground. Children practiced emergency drills. Leaders threatened each other with global destruction. The Andari ambassador spoke quietly. And yet you survived. Ward nodded. Barely. The reptilian general asked, what stopped you from destroying your planet? Ward answered with a simple truth. The aliens looked confused. Ward explained. Humans finally understood that if the war started, no one would win. Queen Zira studied the human carefully. So your species stepped back from the edge? Yes. And learned restraint. Ward nodded again. For the first time, humanity understood the true cost of war. The chamber remained silent, because most species in the galaxy had never needed to learn that lesson in such a brutal way. Queen Zira slowly returned to her throne and sat down. Her eyes remained locked on the human. You survived a war that could have destroyed your entire civilization. Yes, the queen spoke quietly, and after that, you continued fighting? Ward gave a small, calm nod. Yes. The reptilian general laughed in disbelief. You nearly destroyed your world. And you still kept fighting wars? Ward looked at him. Yes. The hall became silent again, because the truth was becoming clearer to everyone present. Humans were not simply warriors, they were survivors, and that made them far more dangerous. The Great Galactic Hall remained silent after the human finished his story about the war that almost destroyed Earth. Many alien leaders sat frozen in their seats, trying to understand what they had just heard. A species that came so close to destroying its own planet, and still survived. That alone was shocking, but something about the human's calm voice made the story even more unsettling. Commander Elias Ward did not speak like someone telling a heroic tale. He spoke like someone remembering a difficult lesson. Queen Zira leaned back in her crystal throne. Her earlier arrogance had faded slightly. Her glowing violet eyes were now filled with deep curiosity. You survived the greatest war in your history, she said slowly. Yes, Ward replied. And your people learned from it? Yes. The queen tilted her head slightly. Then how did the rest of the galaxy first learn about humans? Ward looked around the enormous hall. At the many alien races watching him. Not the way you might expect, he said quietly. The reptilian general crossed his heavy arms. What does that mean? Ward answered calmly. Humanity did not enter the galaxy peacefully. A wave of whispers spread through the council. Queen Zira leaned forward. Explain. Ward nodded slightly. After humanity finally united many of its nations, we began exploring space. Slowly at first. Small colonies, research stations, mining operations on nearby planets. Several alien diplomats nodded. That was the normal path for most civilizations, but Ward continued. Humanity believed it was alone in the universe. The insect ambassador clicked his limbs. Many young species believe that. Yes, Ward said. For a while we believed it too. He paused. Until the day we were proven wrong. The chamber became quiet again. Ward continued. A human mining colony discovered a strange fleet entering our star system. The reptilian general leaned forward. An alien fleet? Yes, which empire? Ward shook his head. We did not know at the time. The hall grew more interested. Ward continued. The fleet was large. Much larger than anything humanity had ever built. Queen Zira spoke calmly. And what did this fleet want? Ward answered with a simple word. Earth. The chamber stirred again. Conquest? Asked the Andori ambassador. Ward nodded. Yes. The reptilian general laughed loudly. So humanity's first contact with aliens was an invasion? Ward looked at him calmly. Yes. Several alien leaders looked surprised. Most first contacts in the galaxy were peaceful. Humanity's first contact had been war. Ward continued. The alien fleet believed Earth would surrender quickly. Why? Asked Queen Zira. Ward answered honestly. Because humanity was still new to space. And because our technology was weaker. The Queen nodded slowly. That would be a logical assumption. Yes, Ward said, it was. The reptilian general leaned back confidently. So Earth surrendered. Ward looked at him. No. The general's smile slowly faded. Ward continued speaking. Instead, humanity fought. The council listened closely now. Our early ships were smaller and weaker. Ward explained, but human commanders used something the invaders did not expect. Queen Zira's eyes narrowed slightly. What? Answered with quiet certainty. Desperation. The hall became silent again. Ward continued. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting wars on our own planet. We understood strategy. We understood sacrifice. We understood survival. The Andari ambassador spoke quietly, and the invading fleet did not expect that. No, Ward said. They believed we would surrender after the first battles. But humans kept fighting. He paused, again and again. The reptilian general leaned forward again. And what was the result? Ward looked around the hall before answering. Humanity lost many ships. Many colonies were destroyed. But the invaders also began losing ships. The council watched him carefully. Then something unexpected happened, Ward said. Queen Zira leaned forward. What? Ward answered calmly. Humanity adapted. Several alien leaders exchanged concerned looks. Ward continued. Our engineers improved our ships. Our pilots learned alien battle tactics. Our commanders studied every mistake, and slowly, the war began to change. The reptilian general spoke again. You are saying humans turned the war around? Ward nodded. Yes. The hall grew very quiet, because most alien empires were used to winning wars quickly against weaker civilizations. But humanity had done something different. They survived, and they learned. Queen Zira looked at the human with a new expression. Not arrogance, not amusement, something closer to respect. So that, she said slowly, was the moment the galaxy first noticed humanity. Ward nodded. Yes, but it was only the beginning. The Queen narrowed her eyes slightly. The beginning of what? Commander Ward answered with the same calm voice he had used since the start. The beginning of the wars that followed. And suddenly, the number 99 seemed even more believable. The great galactic hall was completely silent. Commander. Elias Ward stood calmly in the center of the chamber while hundreds of alien leaders stared at him with new eyes. The story he had told was no longer amusing to them. It was no longer a simple human tale. It was beginning to feel like a warning. Queen Zira sat quietly on her throne. Her violet eyes were fixed on the human soldier. The arrogance she had shown earlier had almost disappeared. Now she looked thoughtful, careful. You said the invasion of Earth was only the beginning. She said slowly. Ward nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. The reptilian general shifted in his massive chair. So humanity defeated the first alien empire that attacked them? Ward answered calmly, yes. A murmur spread across the council. Defeating an invading space empire during first contact was already impressive for a young species. But the human continued. And after that victory, Ward said, the galaxy finally noticed us. The insect ambassador tilted his head. And other empires became curious. Ward nodded again. Yes. Queen Zira leaned forward slightly. Curious or concerned? Ward gave a small, calm smile. Both. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Ward continued. Some empires believed humans were too dangerous to ignore. The reptilian general spoke with interest. So they attacked as well? Yes. The hall filled with quiet whispers again. Ward spoke slowly, as if remembering every detail. The next conflict was smaller than the first invasion. A border war near one of our colonies, and then another. And another. The Andari ambassador frowned. You are saying many empires challenged humanity after your first victory? Ward nodded. Yes. Why? Ward answered honestly. Because the galaxy was not sure what we were. The council listened closely. Some believed humans were simply lucky, Ward explained. Others believed we were reckless. Some believed we were dangerous. Queen Zira rested her chin on her hand. And what did you prove? Ward looked around the hall. That humans do not stop fighting when things become difficult. The reptilian general gave a low, rumbling laugh. So you fought them all? Ward did not laugh. Yes. The hall remained silent. Some wars lasted only a few months, Ward continued. Others lasted many years. He lifted his armored hand slightly. Different enemies, different battlefields, different reasons. The Andari ambassador asked quietly, and each one made humanity stronger. Ward nodded once. Yes. Queen Zira's voice returned, calm but serious. And these wars, they are part of your number. Ward looked at her. Yes. The queen slowly stood from her throne again. She walked down the steps, her silver robes moving softly behind her. The entire council watched in silence. She stopped only a few steps away from the human. You claim your species has fought 99 wars. Yes, and survived every one. Yes. The queen studied his face carefully. Then she asked the question that had been growing in her mind. How many of those wars did humanity win? The hall grew even quieter. Many alien leaders leaned forward. They expected the human to give a proud answer, a large number, a boast. But Commander Ward did something unexpected. He paused. For the first time since he began speaking, several seconds passed. Then he answered. Enough. The answer confused the council. The reptilian general frowned. That is not a number. Ward looked at him calmly. No, he said, it is the truth. Queen Zira narrowed her eyes. Explain. Ward took a slow breath. Humans do not measure war the same way many species do. The queen crossed her arms. How do you measure it? Ward answered quietly. We measure survival. The hall remained silent. Ward continued speaking. In some wars we won battles. In others we lost many. But in the end, humanity was still standing. The insect ambassador spoke slowly. So victory to humans simply means continuing to exist. Ward nodded. Yes. The reptilian general leaned back in his chair again. That is a strange way to define victory. Ward looked around the chamber. Not for a species that nearly destroyed its own planet. The silence returned. Queen Zira studied the human carefully again. For the first time since the meeting began, her voice carried a hint of respect. You are not proud of your wars. Ward shook his head. No. Then why fight? So many? Ward answered with the same calm voice. Because sometimes war comes whether you want it or not. The hall remained silent. Queen Zira slowly turned and looked at the many alien leaders watching them. Then she turned back to the human. And yet you say there were 99 wars. Yes. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Which means there is something. You have not told us yet. Ward looked at her quietly. Yes. The queen spoke one final question. Human. What happened in the 100th war? The question hung in the air like a shadow. What happened in the 100th war? Queen Zira's voice had been calm, but the entire great galactic hall felt the weight of it. Hundreds of alien leaders leaned forward in their seats, waiting for the human's answer. Commander Elias Ward stood quietly in the center of the chamber. For the first time since he began speaking, he did not answer right away. The silence stretched across the hall. The reptilian general tapped one heavy claw on the arm of his chair. Well, human, he said impatiently. What happened in the 100th war? Ward slowly lifted his eyes and looked around the chamber. He saw curiosity, suspicion, and something new, respect. Finally, he spoke. There was no 100th war. A low murmur moved across the council. Queen Zira narrowed her glowing violet eyes. What do you mean there was no 100th war? Ward answered calmly. Because the 99th war changed everything. The hall became quiet again. The honorary ambassador leaned forward slightly. What kind of war was it? Ward took a slow breath. It was the largest war humanity had ever faced. Several council members shifted in their seats. Larger than the invasion of Earth? Larger than the conflicts that followed? Ward continued. By that time, humanity had already fought many alien empires. We had defended our colonies. We had learned how to fight in space. But the 99th war was different. Queen Zira crossed her arms. How? Ward's voice remained steady. Because it was not one empire attacking us. The reptilian general frowned. Then what was it? Ward answered with a single sentence. It was half the galaxy. The chamber exploded with whispers. That is impossible. No species could survive that. Half the galaxy? Queen Zira raised her hand, and silence quickly returned. She looked directly at the human. Explain. Ward nodded slightly. After decades of conflict, many empires reached the same conclusion. That humanity was too dangerous. The hall grew quiet again. Ward continued. They believed that if humans continued growing stronger, we might become unstoppable. The insect ambassador clicked his limbs. So they united against you? Yes. The reptilian general let out a low rumble, and they tried to destroy humanity before it became too powerful. Ward nodded. That was their plan. Queen Zira's expression became serious. How large was this alliance? Ward answered calmly. Dozens of empires. Thousands of warships. The Andari ambassador whispered softly. And Earth still survived? Ward looked at him. Yes. The chamber fell silent again. Queen Zira stepped down from her throne once more. Her silver robes moved softly across the crystal floor as she approached the human. How? The question was simple, but everyone in the hall wanted the answer. Ward looked around. The chamber again. At the beginning of the war, he said, humanity was losing. Several alien leaders nodded. That made sense. No single species could defeat half the galaxy. Ward continued. Many of our colonies were destroyed. Entire fleets were lost. Billions of humans died. The hall remained silent, but humans did what we always do. The reptilian general spoke quietly. You adapted. Ward nodded. Double quotes, yes. Our scientists created new defenses. Our engineers improved our ships. Our commanders changed their tactics. He paused for a moment, and something else happened. Queen Zira asked, what? Ward answered slowly. Some empires began to question the war. The council members exchanged confused looks. Ward continued. They had joined the alliance out of fear, but as the war continued, they began to see something. What? Asked the Andari ambassador. Ward looked directly at Queen Zira. That humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy. We were only trying to survive. The hall became very quiet. Ward continued. Slowly, some empires left the alliance. Then, others. The war began to fall apart. The reptilian general frowned. So humanity did not win by destroying them. Ward shook his head. No. Then how did the war end? Ward gave a small, tired smile. It ended when the galaxy finally understood us. Queen Zira stared at him carefully. And what exactly did they understand? Ward answered with quiet certainty that fighting humans forever is pointless. Because humans will always keep fighting back. The great galactic hall fell completely silent. Queen Zira slowly stepped closer to the human. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she turned and looked at the council. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was calm and serious. Perhaps, she said slowly, the galaxy has misunderstood humanity. She turned back to Commander Ward. The arrogance that once filled her eyes was gone. Now there was only respect. You have fought 99 wars, she said. Double quotes, yes. And yet you still stand here. Ward nodded. Double quotes, yes. The Queen studied him for one final moment. Then she spoke the words no one in the hall expected to hear. The Valtherian Empire will not become your 100th war. And once again,